disassociating with and getting rid of all the stuff we have accumulated physically in our lifetimes to start to clear ourselves physically. So.
And interestingly, you say that because not only myself, but I would say at least 90% of the people that I know or come in contact with are cleaning the garages out and selling stuff on eBay and changing relationships and flip-flopping around with jobs. And it seems like there's a big upheaval or clearing, as you say.
Or cleansing, yeah. I think cleansing is a great word to use because as we progressed going through the writing of the book, it was kind of funny because they wouldn't jump ahead, of course, at all. And we just kept saying, okay, well, we'll just keep writing it here. And they would come up with examples, and the message would ask us to, like, research some things like everything from Egyptian way of living at the time of the ancient Egyptians versus now, and tribal communities and how they lived, and how people can literally have monetary systems and also barter systems in place at the same time. And they would kind of give us homework, and it was kind of interesting because when it first all started and going through the first parts of the book, I had been aware of 2012 and the Mayan calendar ending and some of the stuff, but I had not delved very, super deep into it. I was aware that there was a shift coming and changes were happening, and it was, energetically, I think it's been evident for a long time to a lot of people, and so I knew things were happening, but I didn't think this book would be really that super tied into that, and so that came at the end as a big surprise. So. And so it was kind of fun going through it because they were literally like teachers to us and kind of taught us. And I want to say right now, just to mention the book's other author, Michelle Krauss is her name. She's a young lady married with a child and so on and so forth. And she found that the public spotlight was really uncomfortable for her and really kind of threw her whole energy off, and she just couldn't work with it, and it interfered with some of the healing stuff she was doing, and so she has chosen to take a less public path and kind of just approach the coming changes and everything in a more personalized manner, and so that's why I always want to mention that because people say, well, what happened to her?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, so basically, you started off writing this book on simple living, and it turned into the subject of 2012. Now, there's all sorts of schools of thought out there with the end of the world and all the earth changes and the disasters and the end of civilization. And then there's the other side with the shift and the elevation of consciousness and enlightenment. And from what I get, you're basically saying that it's an individual choice on how we want to experience this, right?
It's free will all the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally, now is the time to take and clear yourself physically. And then the book talked about how the emotion and feeling was so attached to our way of life and all our physical possessions that you next have to then start to clear yourself out emotionally so that you can then apply a more giving and heartfelt living to your emotions and feeling, and then evolve spiritually. So that's how the book kind of went through its stages.
So start by cleaning the garage, and then start cleaning the soul.
That's right. Cleaning the garage, and then cleaning out clean out the soul's garage. Some of that over competitiveness. It really went into. It surprised us how much the book, the guides were directing us and said, well, just start talking about this. And we would just come up with all of this about how the programmed, how we
Yes.
are literally just being, we're led, how these guys are just the dream weavers and the master dream weavers of the world now on Madison Avenue, and they literally can make anything happen, and they do. And it's in a sense, it's, people have just been distracted too long and away from any kind of self-empowerment. That's what the book was about, that we need to return to that self-empowerment, because that's the only way we're going to be able to, and there's a section of the book that just talks about getting along. The only way we're going to get along is to start getting along with ourselves. Stop beating ourselves up. Stop letting others make all the decisions for us in our life.
Right. It's almost like, you kind of brought this up. I mentioned this in one of my books about programming, and it's interesting that, television, the shows on television are called television programming. And, while you were talking here, I'm getting this vision of people sitting on their couches with a little bit of drool coming down from the side of their mouth, and they're watching what Madison Avenue or whoever is feeding us and programming us with. And this is exciting news because, you're really saying that, all of this stuff that's going on, and people would say, oh, geez, our foundations are crumbling and all of this. But really, it's a necessary thing to happen for people to take back their power that they have just given away. And
with any change, there comes some trauma.
Yeah,
there really does. I mean, there isn't any easy. I mean, change can be easy as possible, but we're almost taught through being shown over competitiveness and all this other things that change is bad. And so we look at any change as being bad. So we literally will attach trauma of sorts to it as it's happening. And the book was funny because it talked about how it really targets everyone from the womb on to lose and let others make all their decisions. And so you get this self-empowerment that needs to come through, but to do that, you have to turn away from this system, and it's such just a bear for people to look at that. I think one of the things that I kind of am missing in this too is that the book is really kind of a simple guidebook, because that whole simplicity thing comes back in, because, and one of the things we got was like talk about the grieving process in a sense, because right now with the change of any shift of a society, a shift of consciousness, a shift of an evolution of any sort like that, you're going to have a loss, because people are going to feel this loss, and that's like and so you can apply the grieving process to any part of that. And the first part of grieving is anger, that, and it works all the way down to acceptance. And the majority of the world is in a situation where they're getting bombarded now. There's so much information coming out spiritually, like you were saying. There's all these different schools, and all people's psychic abilities are waking up, and the market's flooded out there with a psychic on every corner and all this stuff, and people are kind of looking to find where their place is going to be in this whole big thing that's happening. And so you got where so many people are literally left saying, what in the heck is going on? Where can I get onto this train I need to be on, this situation to get my evolution speeded up a little, to see what's happening. And that's where the book is at. It's I wanted to mention that because you lose that simplicity touch sometimes when you get talking about everybody from Pinchback to Nostradamus, and you drag David Icke in and all the other guys, and you can just get your mind blown right out of the water.
Sure.
So,
so really, we're kind of like talking about not only an evolution for the soul, or elevated awareness, but leaving behind this kind of comfort zone, this thing that we've come to know and love, called society, and it's like a broken system based in negativity and greed and competition and blah blah blah, and returning to a more tribal, sustainable, simplicity,